Hi, my name is David Peterson. I'm a Protestant pastor. On my channel, I'm talking about the Bible as the best one resource for learning ancient common sense wisdom. Today, many people are tired of the advice they're getting from the culture around them. They recognize that a lot of this advice is not grounded in anything deep or lasting, and that it's based on wishful thinking. It hasn't been tested, hasn't been proven to work. People are just hoping that the experiments that they're doing, things that we often label woke, that they'll work out in the long run. They even somewhat try to couch it in the language of science and that they've looked at these things. But when you dig deeper, you realize there's not many long-range studies about the effects of all these experiments in dismantling traditional ways of living. And so people are starting to turn away from that, looking for a deeper source for learning how to live their lives, a deeper source of wisdom. And there are many sources. There's wisdom from the past you can find all over the world. But the best one resource that you can look at, the one that has stood the test of time, that has gone through the fires of criticism over the centuries and is still standing, is the Bible. I believe the Bible has connected with so many people and has lasted because people have recognized that the Bible works, that the Bible is fundamentally true in the ways it describes reality. That's part of the reason that people are led to believe some of the more incredible things the Bible says. Because if the Bible's true on all these practical levels, then why wouldn't it be true on these more incredible claims that it makes? But also there's times in which the Bible is corroborated, or at least people say things as if it's new and it's already been said in the Bible. I think about those opening chapters of Genesis. It was the first modern psychologist, psychiatrist, Freud, who said human beings have two basic needs. That is, they need love and they need work, he said. It's fascinating that the Bible says this very thing when it describes the creation of human beings, but it does it in a much more memorable and poetic and lasting way in the story of the Garden of Eden. It tells the story of the man in the garden, and he's brought everything in creation to him, and none of those things satisfy him. And then finally a woman is brought to him, and then we're told it's not good that the man be alone. What is this saying? In order to be satisfied, we need love, the very thing Freud said, and yet it says it in such a way that it really gets it across to you much more powerfully than in the abstract teaching of a Freud. The other thing Freud said is they need work. And it says that man was placed in the garden to work the garden, to tend it and to keep it. The idea was human beings find satisfaction in extending the work of God, that is taking the creation around them and adding their part to it, cultivating it, expanding it, bringing out of it its potential. And we see that all over the world, that human beings are most fulfilled when they're doing that. Again, right there in the beginning in the Bible. But later on, one of the students of Freud, Viktor Frankl, a Jewish psychiatrist who spent some time in a Nazi concentration camp, recognized that there were actually more things, or at least one more thing that human beings needed in this life, and that could be there to sustain them even when they were struggling not to have meaningful work and love in their lives. And what he recognized is that man needed to realize what he called attitudinal values. That is, that we needed to be able to make our choices about how we approach life and the trials of life. That trials, and he saw this in that crucible of experience of being in that camp, that people who took a certain attitude to the trial they were enduring were raised up through that trial, while others did not, were brought down low. And he wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning. Bottom line is that is already there in the story of Genesis as well. Because a part of the ideal human situation, whether we like it or not, is trial. There is this trial in the middle of the garden. Some people have struggled with why a tree that was forbidden, why a serpent that would tempt. It's telling us that at the heart of our humanity, to fulfill our humanity, we are to face trials, the temptations, and to adopt the right attitudes in those situations, and that our humanity will be fulfilled. And that's a part of the idyllic situation, the original intention as portrayed in those early chapters. The wisdom of the Bible saying, don't avoid trials as if they're not meant to be. Trials are actually a part of the original intention, and it's in how you approach those trials that you will experience the fulfillment of your humanity. In future videos, we'll look at more of these practical things, especially looking, for example, next at the story of Cain and Abel, where this is further elaborated, how it is we are to realize, as Viktor Frankl said, attitudinal values. Again, he uses very abstract ways to talk about these basic human needs that lead to fulfillment. He said this new one he was adding was realize attitudinal values. Speaking of love, he said we need to realize experiential values. So he was expanding love from just love between married partners, husband and wife, to experiencing and enjoying and receiving and, in a sense, loving the world around us. And then realizing creative values. That's what he talked about when he talked about the need for work and expression of our inner creativity. So 3 things there found in the garden: basic wisdom of the Bible, the human need to realize creative values, the human need to realize experiential values, the human need to realize attitudinal values. And that these things are part of reality, and that we have to live in tune with reality in order to experience the fulfillment of our being. And this is basic wisdom, common sense wisdom that you can find it all over, but again is found right there in this book that has shaped our culture for generations.